Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin. If you're new here, if you're not, thank you so much for stopping back by. I have been a little bit off track with getting these videos done. Just life happens, you know, it's almost summer and I had a vacation and this, that, and the other thing. So anyway, today we're gonna get back into the budget goodness with my April budget review, going over how I spent my money in April, as well as in the next video, I'm gonna break them up, two separate videos. I'll go over the vacation budget for New Orleans. I was there for a long weekend, so stay tuned for that as well. But just in this one, we'll go over my April budget. So let's get started first by looking at my expenses. And first up, we'll look at the housing and utilities here. So I budgeted for $44.95 for our mortgage, and I did pay that. For electricity, I budgeted $85 and spent $67.50, so I was a little bit under on that one, which was great. For water, I budgeted $10.18 and spent $10.18. For internet, I budgeted $23 and spent $23. And for trash, in April, I spent $14. Now, all of these bills are half because I split all of those with my partner. And then the trash bill has actually changed. So it has gone from a monthly bill to a quarterly bill. And so I'm gonna still be doing $14 a month. And then just whenever the quarterly one comes out, it's time to pay. And so it'll kind of be a sinking fund, but it's such a short-term sinking fund. I'm just gonna leave it in the checking account. And so it's gonna still just show up in the same section of my budget because why make anything more complicated? So next up, we have my phone bill is $37.79 and I spent $37.79 or 76, so a little bit less. And honestly, I might have just mistyped the 6 there, I don't know. But either way, it's 3 cents, who cares? So anyway, that is my phone bill. So next up, we have the auto section. So in April, I budgeted $147 for my auto insurance, and it ended up actually only being $128.50, which was great. Unfortunately, come May, since we're in mid-May when I'm filming this, it's not the same, so I'm kind of bummed, but I need to call them and figure out what's going on. Anyway, for fuel in April, I budgeted $75 and spent $77. I did spend technically more than that on fuel from vacation, but I took that out of the vacation budget, so I did stay on track. Next up, we have my debt payments. So for April, I planned to spend $290 for my minimum debt payment, and then that's to my car loan, and then $11.10 to additional payments to that loan, and I did end up making those payments, so a total of $1,400 went to those debt payments. And then next up, for groceries, I budgeted $215 and ended up spending $256. And then, so that was a little bit over in the grocery budget, which I think we're all used to at this point. But anyway, for restaurants, I budgeted $50 and only spent $18.97. So it's under there. So in total, I wasn't too far over on food. And then the next section is entertainment, and this is basically just subscriptions. So my Spotify was $10. Amazon Prime actually went up $1, so it was $5.99 before. Now it's $6.99. Paramount Plus was $5.99. Hulu was 99 cents, and my podcast was $5. I am actually thinking about canceling that and getting a different service instead of that podcast, so we'll see. Next up, we have my miscellaneous section. Here I spent $25 donating to the Humane Society, and then I did get a match from my company, which is great. And then I spent $70.64 on household items, and that was only 64 cents over, so pretty good there. And then for personal spending, I spent $177.88, which was $107 over budget. I bought sunglasses, a puzzle, and then I bought clothes at Walmart when I was on vacation. And some of them I gifted, and some I just kept. Some of them I planned to return and haven't yet, so it is what it is. I have a bad habit, so in May, I'm really trying to not touch my personal spending budget to kind of even out a little bit, but it is what it is. And then for miscellaneous, I didn't spend anything in this category, which really helped out because I did go over in other categories. So I was really happy to not have done a bunch of miscellaneous spending. And part of that is that I was in New Orleans, and anything I did in New Orleans was vacation expenses other than that Walmart trip, obviously, because that wasn't like vacation expenses. But anyway, next up, we will go over the savings and sinking funds. I'll zoom out just a little here to make sure you can see that whole box. And first things first, at the top of the savings and sinking funds, we have my kind of pay yourself first area. That's my investing accounts. So I have a Roth IRA, and I put $250 in there. And it went from 1965 to 2091, which was only an increase of 126 because the market is going crazy. So it was an increase, but it should have been over 250 increase, but it's fine. I did put the money in, so it's all good. Brokerage, I planned for 25, and I put 25 in for a grand total increase of 247 by the end of the month. So yay for market volatility. Next up, we have my typical sinking funds. So I planned 75 for propane and did that. I planned 200 towards home expenses, and I ended up spending $33, and then that was on like plant bags for gardening, and then I deposited 160 into the sinking fund. So spent 30 and saved 160. And I showed you guys in my May budget that I've decided to have 2 columns there for spent or saved to combine to be what I budgeted for that column for that month. So it's going to be a lot more clear of a picture what I'm doing with my money in the savings and sinking fund section moving forward, but this is the last month. You'll see it where it's kind of confusing. So yeah, did good on the home section, did not go over. For vehicles, I did spend $100 because I spent $20 on diesel exhaust fluid, and then I put the rest of the money that would have equaled out to 100 into the savings account. And then for vacations, I budgeted to spend 75, and I spent 1,171 for a total difference of $900. So I took almost 900 out of my sinking fund there, and that is because I went on that trip, so I was spending money on my trip. So that's why it's so much over. It was expected and planned ahead for it. It's a sinking fund, so you know. And then for gifts, I planned 50 and ended up spending 75, so I did go over a little bit there, but I didn't end up taking it out of my sinking fund just because I covered it with my budget. And then like it evened out at the end, so I didn't need to pull anything out there. I try not to on gifts if I can because I need to save that money for later. So sometimes I just cash flow stuff. So anyway. Next up was family 75, and I did spend a little bit on I guess I put the Mother's Day gift in there. I bought my mom several things for Mother's Day, and one of the small things was like a tote bag and a little squishmallow that was purple because she loves purple, and then I got her some nutrition shakes. And then everything other than that, I put towards the savings sinking fund for family stuff, and that was $54 in there. So ended up spending exactly 75 there, but it was kind of, I didn't put it all into sinking fund, so you can see the difference here was 54 instead of 75. So for emergency, I plan to save 100, and I put 100 into my savings fund. So my sinking fund for emergencies is finally up to 2,500. Woo! That's not, I don't think that's quite 2 months really, because I think I usually say 3,000 would be like 2 months, but this would be like bare bones. I could get by for 2 months on that if I had to. But anyway, next up we'll get into the income, and that is pretty typical. I had my, well, I guess a little less typical since it's got all these things, but I had 2 paychecks, $15.94 each, and then I did take out money from my student loan savings fund. That was like a sinking fund that I was just saving up until student loans start, but they got pushed back again, and now I have an auto loan, so I decided to take it out and put it towards the auto loan. So you'll see that as like income, so that when I put that in the budget earlier, it evens out. And then I did actually budget 25 coming out for surveys on the go, but I ended up having 39.05. I got 14 more dollars than I thought I would. And then from FanDuel, I had like reward money that you have to spend, or they'll take it away from you and you can't cash it out. You have to actually use it to bet because it was like a referral bonus. So I made literally 47 $1 bets, and a bunch of those came through, and I ended up getting $30 instead of just 15, and cashed that out. So that was great. And those 2 things are what kind of evened out the extra gifts and some of the personal spending. So that's kind of the only reason that worked out, was because I brought in a little bit of extra income that I really wasn't like expecting. And then I did cash out a Google Opinion Rewards $2. And then like I told you earlier, I ended up pulling out $900 from my vacation fund. And the reason I didn't budget for that is just because I had no idea how much I was going to spend in New Orleans. So And that is not a clear picture of like everything I spent in New Orleans, because the vacation fund I actually ended up using for buying a dress, booking a hotel, and stuff. So it was like more than just paying for New Orleans. So that's why I want to do a separate video on my New Orleans budget, because it was actually far less than 900 that I spent there. But being a part of that whole trip was more than 900. So anyway, I will get into that in another video. But that's all I have for you guys on my April. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot, I have the totals. So anyway, I expected to have $18 left over, and I had 8 cents left over after I pulled out money from my sinking funds to cover vacation and whatnot. So not too bad. Very happy that I did not go over budget this last month in April. But that actually is all I have for you guys. So thank you for tuning in yet again to listen to me blather on about my very exciting budget. I'll catch you guys in the next video.